All right, guys, we're on letter 13. Letter 13. This is the 38 letters from John D. Rockefeller to his son. Letter 13. I want to say a disclaimer. I just watched the PBD podcast. There was this woman who says she was not from this country. She was from some European country, I think. And she said when she was like 9, her mom, her mom wasn't a good person. I don't want to say evil. It's when her mom wasn't a good person. She didn't have good. She was probably a damaged woman herself, but she would sell her little child for sex for these other sick men that had sex with her child. And I don't know, that kind of, I don't know, in that world, this mother met some powerful men, and like she ended up selling her daughter off, and her daughter, I don't know, her mom was making money off of this, and the daughter ends up in the hands of this sex ring. And this lady was making, she made some claims and accusations of this son, of the son who, this, when I'm reading here, these letters that were written for this son, the son of a self-made wealthy individual in America, Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller, um, and a son who's handed everything. Um, Father was just extremely powerful, and to become an heir of that lifestyle, you have no struggles in life. You're, I don't know. Supposedly, this woman's making accusations that she was she was molded. She was created. She was taught these things, and she was like a sex slave. This pedophilic David David Rockefeller. He's dead. She's making other accusations about the prime minister of Canada's father, who was also the prime minister, um, Trudeau. Forgot the dad's name. Um, and these claims were just highlighting this dark underworld of these sick sex trafficking, pedophilic sex trafficking rings of children from these very powerful men, whether they use it for blackmailing on political reasons or just to fulfill their sick, insatiable, pedophilic desires. So that's just a disclaimer. I started reading this. Again, this is written by the father of that dude who's been accused. They're both dead now, but so I'm just getting the idea of, is the child a product of the parent? You could say so. Um, so yeah. So letter 13. Letter 13. Just want to put that disclaimer out there that I don't support that, and I just, not everything I read I support. I'm just reading it for insight, for historical purposes, for knowledge, for you guys to listen to and to get viewers and grow my channel. A lot of it was motivating, but some of these recent ones about greed, like greed is a good thing. Greed was what pushed him to want. Greed within the boundaries of the rules. I don't know. Do I agree with it? I know it's necessary. I think it was probably necessary to want to be so driven to want things, to capitalize off other people's effort and work and labor. So letter 13. There are no free rewards in life, and work is necessary to achieve success. So I want to say this. He didn't get here without action, right? Rockefeller didn't become who he was without action and effort, and but self-belief and again, determination and overcoming failures and obstacles and intelligence and being opportunistic, even enthusiastic, you could say. And so I want to remember those things along with the bad. There are no rewards in life, and work is necessary to achieve success. Maintaining dignity, both in life and in death, is critical to a fulfilling existence. March 17, 1911. Dear John, I've noticed the news that accuse me of being stingy, saying that I do not donate enough. It is nothing. I have been scolded enough by reporters who do not know me, and I'm used to their ignorance and harshness. There is only one way I respond to them, to remain silent and unjustified, no matter how they verbally criticize me, because I know what I think. I firmly believe that I am on the right side. Everyone needs to go their own way, and it is important to have a clear conscience. There was a story that may explain why I rarely pay attention to the beggars who beg me to give them money to solve their personal problems, and it can also explain why this makes me more nervous than earning money. So it's very interesting. Everyone needs to go their own way, and it is important to have a clear conscience. All right, so he's putting it in writing, but we all know that writing is. But again, he's not putting this out on papers. These are secret letters he's writing to his son, so we can imagine that he's being trying his best to be completely honest, right? Or he's like seeing his son as his son. Anything he writes to his son, it's he wants it to better for the betterment of his child. So there's a story right here. So there is a story that may explain why I rarely pay attention to the beggars who beg me to give them money to solve their personal problems, and it can also explain why this makes me more nervous than earning money. The story goes like this. There was a farmer who kept a few pigs in captivity. One day the owner forgot to close the door and gave the pigs a chance to escape. After a few generations, these pigs became more and more fierce and began to threaten pedestrians passing by. Several experienced hunters heard about this and wanted to capture them for the people. However, these pigs were very cunning and could never be fooled. John, when the pigs start to become independent, they will become tough and smart. One day, an old man was chasing a donkey that was dragging a two-wheeled cart with a lot of wood and grain when he walked into a village where the wild boars roamed. The locals were very curious, so they walked forward and asked the old man, "Where are you from? What are you going to do?" The old man told them, "I'll help you catch the wild boars." The villagers laughed at him as soon as they heard it. "Don't be funny now. How can you do something that even a good hunter cannot do?" However, 2 months later, the old man came back and told the villagers in that village that the wild boars had been locked in a fence on the top of the mountain. The villagers were surprised again and asked the old man, "Really? Unbelievable. How did you catch them?" The old man explained, "First of all, go to a place where wild boars often come out to eat. Then I'll put some food in the middle of the open space as a bait for the trap." The pigs were startled at first, but eventually ran over curiously to smell the food. Soon an old wild boar ate the first bite, and other wild boars followed. I knew then I must be able to catch DM. DM? I don't know if he meant them. The next day, I added a little more food and planted a plank a few feet away. The board temporarily frightened them off like a ghost, but the free lunch was tempting, so they soon ran back to continue eating. At the time, the wild boar did not know that they were going to be mine. After that, all I have to do is to plant a few more boards around the grain every day until my trap is complete. Then I dug a hole and erected the first corner pile. Every time I add something, they will stay away for some time, but in the end, they will come again for free lunch. The fence is built and the trapdoor is ready. While the habit of getting something for nothing made them walk into the fence without any hesitation. At this time, I unexpectedly put away the trap, and the pigs that ate free lunch were easily caught by me. At this time, I unexpectedly put away the trap, and the pigs that ate free lunch were easily caught by me. The moral of this story is simple. When an animal depends on humans for food, its will be taken away, and then it will be in trouble. The same situation applies to human beings. If you want to make a person disabled, just give them a pair of crutches and wait for a few months to achieve your goal. In other words, if you give someone a free lunch for a certain period, he or she will develop the habit of getting something for nothing. Do not forget everyone has a need to be taken care of in the womb. Yes, I always encourage you to help others, but as I always tell you, if you give a person a fish, you can only support him for one day. But if you teach him the skill of fishing, it is equivalent to supporting him for life. This old saying about fishing is very meaningful. In my opinion, donating money is the wrong kind of help. It will make a person lose the motivation to be thrifty and diligent and become lazy, unpredictable, and unaccountable. More importantly, when you give alms to a person, you deny his dignity. And if you deny his dignity, you take away his destiny, which is extremely immoral in my opinion. As a rich man, I have the responsibility to be a messenger for the benefit of mankind, but I cannot be the initiator of making lazy people. Once any person develops a habit, whether it is good or bad, the habit will always possess him. The habit of eating lunch for nothing will not help a person progress, but only make him lose the chance to win. But hard work is the only reliable way out. Work is the price we pay for enjoying success. Wealth and happiness can only be obtained by work. A long, long time ago, a wise old king wanted to compile a wisdom record for future generations. One day, the old king summoned his clever courtiers and said, "A mind without wisdom is like a lantern without a candle. I want to compile a book of wisdom from all ages to illuminate the future of your children and grandchildren." After the wise men took orders and left, they worked for a long time, finally completed a masterpiece of 12 volumes, and proudly declared, "Your Majesty, this is a record of wisdom from all ages." The old king looked at it and said, "Sirs, I am sure that this is the crystallization of the wisdom of all ages. However, it is too thick, and people will not be able to read it. Condense it." These smart people spent a lot of time, and after several deletions, a book was completed. However, the old king still thought it was too long and ordered them to condense again. These smart people condensed the book into a chapter, then reduced it to a page, then turned it into a paragraph, and finally turned it into a sentence. The wise old king was very proud when he saw these words. "Gentlemen," he said, "this is really the crystallization of wisdom of all ages, and once people everywhere know this truth, most of our problems can be solved." This saying is what we have known as there was no free lunch in the world. This saying is what we have known as there was no free lunch in the world. The first and last chapter of the Book of Wisdom states that there is no free lunch in the world. If people know that getting ahead is at the cost of hard work, most people will achieve something and at the same time will make the world a better place. And those who eat lunch for nothing will sooner or later pay the price. To live, a person must create something within himself and the outside world that is enough to make his life and death a little dignified. To live, a person must create something within himself and the outside world that is enough to make his life and death a little dignified. To live, a person must create something within himself and the outside world. To live, a person must create within himself. To live, a person must create something within himself and the outside world that is enough to make his life and death a little dignified. Love your father. If when I watched that podcast, that lady seemed like a liar. You have to watch that podcast for yourself. She seemed like a liar, and I don't know. She was caught up in some like questionable. Patrick Bet David PBD. That's his podcast, Valuetainment. Very great marketer. Very smart. Very always great thinker. Always constantly looking for better ways. Good leader. A good business owner. Um, CEO. And he questioned her very well. And she looked like she was caught up in a couple, like she was like not telling the complete truth, you know. But I'm sure. I mean, the way this John D. Rockefeller wrote, you know, this is probably one of my favorite chapters so far. Letter 13. There's no free lunch in the world, and yeah, he wasn't justifying himself in like print, like to be written out, and he didn't tell some journalist or some publicist to print something out, you know, his rebuttal or his justification. He wrote to his son, like, "This is why I haven't felt the need to defend myself, because these are my beliefs. Like, you're just making lazy people when you give things away for free, like that pig trap, right? That was very profound. The trap of the pigs. You know, give them a little food, but you're setting a trap for them. You keep reeling them in. You keep reeling them in. Give something for free. You know, this is the capitalist belief, and so it's very, very interesting. Anyway, peace.